I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We need approval of the agenda.
If there's no additional items, I'll approve the agenda. Make a motion to approve.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval from September 3rd, 2024 minutes.
I thought they read okay. Courtney, thanks for that, including the on Zach's truck, that line in there about it's going to be price protected. So thank you. I'd make a motion to approve them as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First item on the agenda is new opportunities prevention / mentorship presentation. Good morning. If you want to come up here, you're more than welcome to use this. We'll make sure your mic is on. And if you just want to introduce yourself, and we look forward to your presentation. So this right here actually has a document camera. So if you have something that you would like the public to see as well, you can set the document in front of you and the camera will zoom, or we can zoom in and see the document.
I actually don't have a document.
That's okay. That's okay.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Cunningham. I am a prevention specialist from New Opportunities, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity this morning to share a little bit about my passion for what we do in prevention. And I thank you, Jean, for the invitation. I do have some packets of information to pass out when I'm done, and I can leave extras just telling you more about some of the programs that we offer. Friedrich Nietzsche once said that those who were seen dancing were thought crazy by the people who could not hear the music. And in some ways, this has been the story of my life. When my boys were little, people thought I was crazy because I wanted to stay home and dance with toddlers instead of going out and making some money. When it came time to actually join the workforce, I became an activities director at a nursing home in the community, and that started my nearly 30 years of being in the healthcare industry. But at that time, I know that there were people who thought I was crazy because I wanted to dance with the elderly instead of choosing something that would have paid me more money. When I decided to go to school, long after most people were done with schooling, and get the nursing degree to advance my career, people thought that I was crazy because I wanted to dance among textbooks and really difficult tests instead of doing something that would have been a lot easier. And then once I was licensed as a nurse and I worked 12-hour shifts overnight, people thought I was crazy because I was dancing around the beds of people that I didn't know, trying to help patients survive and thrive their conditions, when I could have been doing something in administration and affecting policy and making a lot more money. And now I'm a prevention specialist and I'm still dancing. And I think there are people now who think that I'm crazy because I'm standing in the ranks of those who are fighting some of the biggest industries of our country: tobacco with smoking and vaping, gambling industry, the drug industry, and in some cases, pharmaceuticals, and also things like OPI, our overdoses of OPI. I'm actually transitioning from one program into another, and I'll be teaching the classes to help people to get qualified to treat those who collapse from drug overdoses. So I think that, again, part of what we do is thought to be crazy because of who we stand up against to do this. But I really don't believe in living a life based on solely my own comfort. It's been in my heart from the things that I've seen people do and others that I have known in my lifetime. I've been blessed to have opportunities to try to make a positive impact on the lives of other people. And I do that now at New Opportunities as well. Every single day I go into work and dance with the other people at New Opportunities who are doing things to help people in the 10 counties that we serve. None of us seeks any recognition. We just hope we inspire one another, but more importantly, that we inspire the people that we're serving. For instance, we teach life skills and provide vaping presentations to grade schools in order to bring information and real facts to the kids. We still have a lot of kids and even parents who think, for instance, that vaping is safe, especially compared to smoking cigarettes. We teach a program called Prime for Life. We teach that to seventh graders. We teach a longer course to kids who are identified in schools as already starting down the wrong path, possibly toward substance misuse and even addiction. And we also teach it to adults in our OWI class, and that's a 12-hour course. And we do that to help people get their licenses back. We also teach gambling prevention in various avenues. And again, the aforementioned teaching of classes so that ordinary citizens, second responders, persons in administrations in various places can actually help to save the lives of people who've overdosed. And we teach workplace training for a drug and alcohol-free workplace. So I do all of this and it's part of the daily dance and I feel privileged to do it, but I know every single day that what I'm doing, I am not dancing on a safe and sound dance floor. I really feel like a lot of days prevention is dancing on the head of a pin in a hurricane. So I'm going to share with you some of the facts and figures from these different programs I'm involved in, just to give you a slight example of the kind of statistics that face me every day and the sorts of obstacles that we are up against as we dance in prevention. So about smoking. Today, while you and I go about our busy days, another 2,500 kids under the age of 18 will smoke a cigarette for the first time. 400 to 500 of those will become addicted over the next few weeks who just are smoking cigarettes today. And half of those will die prematurely from tobacco and nicotine related problems. By the time an adolescent has smoked 100 cigarettes, which is about 5 packs, there is enough nicotine in their system for them to be considered addicts. And usually by that time, they already know that there's a problem and they want to stop. But by the time addiction hits, there's no way for them to get help unless there's medical intervention. And if current tobacco use continues, there's an estimated 5.6 million of today's youth under the age of 18 who will die from smoking related illnesses. About vaping, the incidence of vaping has increased by 1,800%. 1,800% in the last year alone, with 15% of high school students and 4% of middle school students stating that they use vaping products every single day. 15% of the patients under the age of 18 who develop respiratory illnesses from vaping will end up dying. And that rises to 37% in 18 to 24-year-olds. As a matter of fact, it's that age group, that 18 to 24, where people first started succumbing to COVID and had no other medical issues other than the fact that they were vapors. And a new study now shows that adolescents are twice as likely to have psychotic episodes and to develop mental illnesses. A lot of these vapes have unknown and hidden THC, which is the drug that is in marijuana, and that also contributes to mental illness and psychosis in our youth. About alcohol, this year about 4,000 alcohol-related deaths will occur in persons under the age of 21. Adolescents who have their first drink by the time they're 15 years old are 4 times more likely to become alcoholics. Currently, at least 17% of 18 to 25-year-olds meet the criteria for alcoholism. 17% of 18 to 25-year-olds. The causes of alcohol-related death include car accidents, homicide, alcohol poisoning, and suicide. Gambling is the fastest growing group of persons and that affects our youth in the state of Iowa, with a large number starting gambling at 8 to 12 years old. They're exposed without even knowing it. And by the time, if someone is exposed at 12 or younger, they're much more likely to become consistent problem gamblers by the time they reach their early 20s. Most students have gambled in some way by the time they're 15 years old. It's because a lot of the programs and the applications they download on their phones with our permission and supervision and unknown to us actually have components of gambling built into them. And this is directed by artificial intelligence, AI, that logs every keystroke made by a little kid in a game. And they're offered opportunities to win free lives in their games by spinning this wheel or completing this game. And all the while, AI is calculating their keystrokes and figuring out, what does this user respond to? Is it bright lights? Is it music? Is it faux metals that they receive as compensation for what they're doing? My husband, who is a minister at a church in Jefferson, has also worked as a substitute teacher, first in Jefferson and last year in Glidden. And he was actually sitting in a class where the teacher left instructions that if the class completed their assignment for that day, they were allowed to use their phones. Phones aren't taken away at every school. And my husband overheard a conversation between 4 or 5 young men about games that they were doing real-time betting on. And the AI in those applications, this was basketball, it happened to be, used to be you could join these brackets and you'd guess on who might win, what the point spread's going to be, who's going to make the most points, be most valuable player. With AI, it updates automatically, and there's a new opportunity to gamble with every stroke. And so it's who's going to take the next shot. Will it be a 2-pointer or a 3-pointer? Will they make the basket? Will they mix? And it's just constant in them. About opioid overdoses, every 8 minutes. So if I stretch this out to 16 minutes, 2 people will have died from opioid overdose somewhere. This totals up to at least, it's about 564,000 deaths per year. That's not counting total overdoses. There are many, many more overdoses where there was Narcan available. In 2022, the DEA seized more than 58.4 million fentanyl-laced fake pills that they put on the market and more than 13,000 pounds of fentanyl powder. This is equivalent to 387 million lethal doses of fentanyl. And kids and adults alike do not know that fake stuff and the fentanyl, and now there are other drugs as well, is actually in what they are taking. So when I'm tired of dancing at the end of the day and it's time to go to bed, I frequently lie awake at night asking myself the question, why do these big industries hate our kids? And why do we allow this to happen? Why do we allow our kids to be preyed upon with good tasting vaping, with these high gloss, high colored, moving applications and advertisements? I really kind of don't know. But the most frustrating thing that I think that I've encountered in my work, dancing and prevention, is how many times I have made invitations to school administrations, clergy associations, hospital administrators, to get opportunities for me to come and present facts so that more people can know the truth and maybe we can keep people from starting some of this substance use. So in other words, my job on a day-to-day basis is to make sure that I invite people to my dance floor, hoping they can hear my music. I accept every opportunity, even potentially working with members of the county staff to teach the workplace training for drug and alcohol, to provide the training for Narcan use so that we can all together in this dance take a little bit bigger bite out of the piece of pie that we're given to fight against these big industries. So I'm perfectly okay with people calling me crazy because I'm participating in doing what seems like the impossible. But when I realize that my dance includes everybody that works at Opportunities and that shoulder to shoulder and with people in the communities that allow us to come in and teach, that we can at least start to make a stand and present a barrier between ourselves and hopefully the kids standing behind us. So to all of you, I say thank you, not just for being here, but because all of you have been serving your community for a while. And you have chosen, like I have, to care about other people, maybe more than you care about yourself. Not every aspect of your job is fun, I know, and neither is mine. And you don't get appreciated for what you do. So today, let me tell you, as a member of staff at New Opportunities and a prevention specialist here in Carroll County, I thank you. I thank you for hearing the music and giving us a chance to dance.
Thank you, Tony. That was a really good presentation. And on behalf of the board, we want to thank you for your service and trying to prevent in every way of prevention, whether it's gambling, smoking. You know, I'm a mom, and I think most everybody up here is a father, and Courtney's a mom. We do have to protect our children, and it's an unfortunate time. It's ever changing, and it is hard to stay ahead of it. But I think, you know, we need good parenting as well.
Yes, yeah. So that's why we're hoping to be able to reach some of the guardians and parents and educators with presentations. May I pass
And,
this?
and Tony,
Absolutely, please do.
thank you for your passion and
Mhm.
dedication to your jobs. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Jean.
Thank you. Some concerning stats you had.
Well maintained every day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep dancing.
Okay, next item on the agenda is to approve payables. Did everybody have a moment to take a look at the payables? And it is in the amount of $188,504.34.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is to review the plats. We have one for Maurice Nealand and one for Denny Wellenberg. Look at those.
Here that came in later. I'll
It's
pass
for
it
Root
around.
Piper.
It's Root Piper.
Yep.
Surveying around at acreage, it looks like.
We got an email.
I saw Sarah, I saw, I did.
Yeah,
see
we got an
this.
email on.
And it is requested by Jerry Rupiper.
It's just from here.
I think the Root Piper is the Leroy Root Piper.
There's another one.
There is two.
Yeah, there's two different root pipers. The Leroy root piper.
Do you have the one for Leroy today too also? No, okay.
We'll have to hold off on the Leroy and to the Kelly Roof Piper one until it's on for next week unless Sarah's in the room. Would you like us to go ahead and approve that one today? I did look at it over the weekend.
I did too.
Um, so technically we would then, I'm gonna update this so the public's aware. There's 4 flats. We have one for Kelly Roof Piper and Leroy Roof Piper. And then there's another one just for Jerry Roof Piper. Then there's one for Maurice Nealand and Denny Willenberg.
I'll make a motion to approve those plans.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying
Aye.
aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna go ahead and skip over item number 4 and 5. And I'll do the manure management annual updates. We have one. Section 22, Glidden Township Annual Update. If somebody's got committee reports, we have 9 minutes before we can go into our public hearing.
Bingo. Last week, I did meet with, concrete graders at the Pricky building and everything was finished on the, have to paint the lines yet. But, everything's finished on the north side. The south side, they are going to pour that sidewalk eventually here. I don't know when, but, fix all the crack stuff there. So.
Thank you.
On that one square.
Yeah.
And then I did see them, they brought in a load of rock.
Yep. And then, they're gonna go from the door, the walk door back there, which is on the south side of the building down to where it's cracked there. This week today I have, conservation at 3:30 and, I'm on the agenda at Rita City Council tonight. Don't know why, but I am. Other than that, I don't have anything else. Thank you.
I can go. Last week, Tuesday, we had our final access DC meeting. Wednesday, I met with, Carroll County Ambulance Director Jamie Webker to proofread the DC letter. That, is one of the talking points that were taken to DC with us. And I did meet with Sarah on Wednesday about the GIS discussion on the 3 properties on Pleasant Ridge. Thursday, I went out to secondary roads, looked through the claims and had a discussion on safety. Friday, all the remaining claims for this pay period at the courthouse. I did watch another prisoner exchange at the jail. I talked to a resident on Pleasant Ridge about possible change of address. And I also spoke with several people on Pleasant Ridge about signing on to the counties opposing the adoption of the ordinance. And one person who was leave it as is. So I got a little bit of both sides. Also seismic testing is done for now in Carroll. And this week, Wednesday and Thursday, I have meetings with Senator Grassley, Ernst, and Congressman Feenstra.
You leave today, this week?
Yeah.
When you leave tomorrow? This last week, I didn't have any official meetings, but I did, Zach and I went down and looked at an issue by Templeton, and then we went down to the Manning Road M66, where we're doing the grading project. And that project is moving along very well, looks very good. As Zach told me, he says by the way things are looking, by the end of this week, there probably won't be much left to do. So we'll pretty well be getting done this week yet. This week I have a CCGP executive board meeting on Thursday. And then, also last week, we had a couple little issues up at Maple River that Mike and I talked about. And we're gonna have to do some more work on trying to get some schedules set up there. So we'll need to meet with you, Courtney, too, also, so. Okay. So,
0 committee report, 0 activity last week regarding official committees and none this week.
I'm gonna amend his 0 report because I know he received a ton of phone calls.
Well, yeah, activity reports, yeah, but official committee reports, 0.
I will go next. Last week, emails, I did meet with HR. And I'll have further report on that in the future. Received quite a bit of phone calls over the weekend. I had the Republican meeting this morning. I did go check out the Fricky building again. And then I had a special meeting with Secondary Road, Zach Anderson. It was kind of a emergency quick. We needed to meet at the, he needed to meet with me. This week I have the newspaper, radio, and then I have Region 12 Executive Board and RDC day. Yeah, Thursday.
Region 12 executive and then what?
RDC. Yeah, but I don't think there's anything on that agenda. It's just they pose it if we receive a loan application, but I'm unaware of one right now. While we have a moment, we have 5 minutes before we go into our public hearing. I want to take a moment and explain kind of a situation that happened with a letter that was sent out to 3 residents on Pleasant Ridge. There was a typo within that letter. The date was wrong. And I know I have Sarah and Jason in the room, and I met with Sarah this morning, and then it was made. And obviously, you know, we are all human, so mistakes do happen. I do apologize to those 3 residents on Pleasant Ridge that received the wrong date. It said for today, and it's going to take place 19. Okay. With that being said, Sarah, did you want to add to address any of those 3 houses? I know you've reached out to those residents explaining that this is common procedure. Give them the option. From my understanding, you also gave them the option that if they wanted to be annexed into the city, they can meet with the city. I think just during a proper conversation with all, I don't know if that is the route that they would actually go, but it's up to them if they would like to. If you want to speak to that, you have 4 minutes before we go into a public meeting. I'd appreciate it. And Jason, if you need to make a comment as well.
Thank you for that. I do apologize for that typo. It was brought to my attention that those 3 addresses were addressed city instead of county, which can cause issues for the 911 purposes. That is why we follow the 5 digits for rural addressing and then 4 or less for city. So that is why that letter went out. I did give them the option to either, you know, have it annexed for that address to stay the same, or we would be doing that 5-digit number per county. So I don't know the routes they wanted to go, but I was trying to get it taken care of as soon as possible. I do not know why it was addressed wrong. One of the people said it was a couple, like 20 some years it's been wrong. So I do apologize. I don't know how long. I'm going to go back and check that out, but we will get that corrected. That's all I have.
Okay. Does anybody from the board stance have a question or?
I got all my questions answered Friday. Jason.
And are you going to reach out to those property owners again today to, okay. We still have 2 minutes, Jason.
Oh, that's impossible.
Feel like it's a conspiracy, keep it short.
That's impossible.
You know, basically from the 911 standpoint, there's a addressing convention that we have in the county where county addresses get 5 digits. None of our cities and consequently none of our bordering counties use 5-digit addressing. So that's a standard that our law enforcement officers and our dispatchers are accustomed to know who's going to respond to a particular address. And so, you know, when we have that sort of convention, it's just a good idea to stay on top of it and keep it correct. I, like Sarah, don't know why 3-digit addresses were assigned to those 3 properties. I think they've always been in the county. So I don't understand why that was done. But this isn't the only place where we're dealing with it. There's places, parcels that have gotten annexed into cities that haven't been updated. And Sarah and I work with those cities to try to get those issues corrected. And here's just a situation where we've got some county properties that are addressed incorrectly and they need to get corrected. So the biggest problem for us is we can change it in the database. We can make the database dance and do whatever we want it to do, but it causes the human component to question the database when it doesn't follow the addressing convention. And if we get into a situation where we don't have those databases available because of a disaster or something like that, it's going to create even more confusion as to who should respond, who should deal with a particular call. And it's gonna result in mismanagement of resources, mostly law enforcement resources. So that's why we try to keep it standard. So how'd I do?
You did great. It actually just
Wow.
turned 9:30. I don't know if I want to give you a high five. I don't know if I've ever.
I'm sure I'll screw it up sometime.
No, good job. And we can circle back to this too at the end of the meeting after we do the public hearing. So item number 4, 9:30 AM, public hearing for proposed amend county ordinance number 33 Maple River monthly sewer charges. We need to update our county ordinance to reflect the correct amounts.
I've received no comment, written or otherwise.
Me neither.
None here.
None.
None. I think we took care of that with the sending out that survey to the people that answered a lot of the questions, I think. So we avoided a lot of those questions.
Okay.
Close the public hearing.
Still, oh, now it's 9:31. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Item number 5 then would to be the first reading of the Carroll County Ordinance number 33 Maple River Watershed Rate Ordinance.
I would make a motion that we approve the first reading of the Carroll County Ordinance number 33 Maple River wastewater rate ordinance and also waive the second and third readings.
Does that mean you're looking to adopt it today?
Yep. Well, I think we got all the questions answered. There's no any.
It'll actually goes into effect as soon as it's published in the paper, but you would be approving me to send it to the paper.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I'm gonna not support that. I don't think that's good for that. I think there needs to be a minimum of second reading, but
Well, the problem is the longer we put it off on this, the further behind we get on the money.
it's a week.
There's a motion and a second. I'm gonna call for the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
I'm okay with.
yeah, no, I understand. I understand. So now that we did the public hearings and I apologize, we're a little ahead of schedule. We can go back to any comments from those in attendance, and if we need to readdress any of those address concerns that I think maybe somebody in this room might have some concerns, we can go back and address those and maybe do a little bit of explaining. So if anybody from the audience would like to make a comment, please feel free to come forward, state your name, and you can make your comment. Yes.
My name is Rhonda Schrader. Thank you for letting me speak. Hi, Mark. My husband is David. We have resided at our property at 123 West Pleasant Ridge Road for 32 years. That address was assigned to us by a county employee. We have that address embedded in limestone in the brick front of our house. At the time that we built our home, the road in front of our house didn't even go all the way through. There was no bridge. There was no paving on our side of the road, which we paid for. For someone, according to Sarah Haberl's explanation to me this morning, this was initiated because a member of the public called in to question why we had the address that we have when we are actually residing in the county. For that petty inquiry to create an inconvenience that is huge for us, to change every legal document that we have in our possession, every account, every notification to friends, to relatives, to agencies, whoever might be involved, seems ridiculous to me. If you would like to put a 5-digit blue 911 sign in front of our property, I have no problem with that. If you want to send my tax bill and list our property at the 911 address, that's fine. But to have to change all of our information as if we moved after 32 years is ridiculous. And I think it's unfair that we are the ones that have to undergo this huge change based on some petty phone call from who knows who.
Have you spoke to the post office to see that you do need to change it?
You said you were,
They're calling me back to let me know if it has to be changed. They did say that it might because of it should match the 911.
and Kevin talked to Jason, Kevin Milligan, said he talked to Jason Lamberts from the post office last Friday, and Jason said that if it wasn't required by the county, we could keep our address.
So what's the deal?
What'd you say, Gene?
How's that? Yeah, I agree with you. So what's the big deal? If it's been that way for 30 years, why
Do you-
leave that?
do you-
way?
I agree with you too. I think this is nonsense.
It's petty. What it is petty, and it's because Milligan's and myself attended the city council meeting about the truck traffic. And for some reason, that set somebody off.
Curious, and this is an honest question. Can somebody with the technology world we live in today link those two addresses together, keep hers the same, add a 911 to it?
I think the post office can do that. That's why we've got.
So they don't have to
next
change their
week.
address and we just link the 911
I think
number.
as far as school buses and that was one of Kevin Milligan's questions to me.
Yeah.
And I think the address will stay the same, as no different than if they link a post office box to the address as far as a school bus, if you were to have a post office box. But I think isn't supposed to go into effect till next Thursday. We meet next Monday. But I think the post office, according to Kevin, was going to 100% clarify it today.
And we received this letter on the 5th, and it's going to go into effect. Well, the letter was incorrect, Sarah said, on the 19th. That's a very short change. If we're going to be forced to change everything in our lives, a 2-week notice
I
for a
agree.
change of this magnitude seems a little bit ridiculous.
My research, what I understand is the only thing it's going to affect, it shouldn't affect the post office. It will only affect the way, if you guys call for an emergency, the comm center would send a sheriff instead of a city police officer. And you would get the blue 911 sign in front of your yard.
I don't agree with, I don't see that you can have two legal addresses for your same property. I don't think
Yeah,
that's
the
right.
post office has to answer that.
The fire department's not county, and if we have a fire at our place, there's no
But they
differentiation.
respond in a fire zone, so the fire is gonna show up no matter what, cause they cover, there's, the entire county has fire units that will respond to every address, so that is it, yeah.
I think
The-
Jason could explain that.
The police department has responded when we had
Of course
fireworks.
they-
They
I-
didn't send the sheriff.
of course-
I actually do want to, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I think we need to table this and have an actual educated fact conversation until we get all of the facts in front of us. And that is, and so I can apologize on behalf of for me. That's why I didn't put it on the agenda, because I'm still trying to research and figure out if you guys can attach a 911 number to your house. That is kind of why I postponed this conversation a little bit. I wanted to put it on next Monday, and I can agree with you. The timetable is not very lenient
It's not
for you.
reasonable.
Yeah. So, and I can agree with you there.
Okay, so if I call in, since we don't have a hard line, I call in on my cell phone. What What do you use to find me?
Well, the first thing we're gonna use is what it costs, because technology can falter. So even though we may give the GPS location from your phone, the first thing is we're gonna ask, as a matter of fact, it's the first thing to ask. Where is your emergency, or what's the address? of your emergency? And then you're gonna tell us, and we're gonna use that to put it into our computer dispatch system. Consequently, the 3-digit address, if we put it in right now, it comes up as a city address. So that's the way somebody a long time ago put it into the database, so they had some misunderstandings about the location of that address.
There should be any changes needed here.
But if I tell you right now, if I tell you 123 West Pleasant Ridge Road, you're gonna find, emergency services are gonna find me, correct?
Sure. Just as they would.
Yeah.
Just as they would find you
Right.
if you gave me a 5-digit county address, it's part of the grid, and we find that address as well.
Well, Jason, on that, so a 3-digit dispatch is a city and a 5-digit dispatch is a county, or how does that work?
Generally speaking, we can get them in the database, we can go in there and change the database, and we can make that short street segment into a county address. The problem becomes is if technology fails, now the human component doesn't know that that's a county address. That's number one. Number two is every time they come across that address and it tells them it's county, they're gonna think the database is wrong because they know the naming convention is in the number per address. And so, you know, we can have this conversation, everybody will know it for a short period of time, and then a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 30 years from now, somebody's gonna have a call there and it's gonna say, hey, this is the city address or a county address, and they're gonna go, no, it's not, it's got a 3-digit, I'm gonna send an officer. It just creates confusion. We most often encounter it the other way. 5-digit addresses are allowed to remain in place even after they've been annexed. And Sarah and I, we've been working with the city of Carroll to get a number of those corrected. Carroll's address and authority there, so they're the ones that have to assign the county address or the city address. But as far as our databases go, an address is, think of it as not the city property, think of it as a pinpoint in the middle of the street, sort of, right? It's just this one spot in time, it's one place in space, and so there is only one address for a given property. If we have a new address assigned and or we have dual addresses for the same property, we'll have records that will be fractured. So we'll have an address in the database that's the 3-digit city address, and we have an address in the database that would be the 5-digit county address. And the call histories for those addresses would never match up. Stuff like that. It just, like I said, it creates confusion in the database, it creates messiness in the database. And it results in you know, wrong resource being assigned. And granted, if it's an emergency, it's gonna be so close to the city, we're gonna be sending the Carroll Police Department, they're probably the closest law enforcement agency. We're not gonna not send the police department if there's an emergency. But on routine type calls, things like that, just a police officer gets sent when they could have been sent to a call that's actually theirs. Then they take the information and realize it's not their call and they have to pass it on to a deputy. Just creates confusion.
Okay, you're saying this creates confusion, but for 32 years, there's been no confusion. I'm questioning, who does this benefit?
Needs to benefit you guys.
It needs to benefit us, and it is not.
Yeah, and public safety for your benefit is the way I see it. And the way it was explained to me Friday when I met with Jason is their desire to, if I could paraphrase, if you don't mind, to protect the integrity of the system. Which I get, I understand, but common sense should trump just about, pardon that word, but it should make more common sense that it's been working for 32 years. I think it's going to work for another 32 years. So I see it as government getting in its own way.
I agree. I think the way Jason just explained it, he's gonna dispatch the Carroll Police Department anyways, and it's been
And
working for
usually
32
they-
years.
The way it works, I mean,
This is
yeah, you're gonna,
nonsense.
You know, and a lot of times they both respond if it's a serious call
Right.
anyway.
I would appreciate anything that you could do for our three families. Thank you for
I
letting me
just hope you
speak.
understand why.
Thank you for your comments.
I do understand why, but sometimes
Yeah.
it's not necessary to fix something when there's not a problem.
Yeah, it was a good catch, but
Yes.
let's let wiser minds prevail.
But as Jason said, there's other issues throughout this.
Yeah.
So why be getting?
Yeah.
Let's not be making a big mountain out of a molehill. As someone said earlier.
I
I'm
don't,
curious what the postmaster says too.
Yeah, we want.
You know what?
Not the bills,
No,
just the check.
just junk mail.
okay, Courtney, what do you have for next week?
Nothing.
Have you,
Maybe this.
Thanks,
I
Ron.
don't-
Mm.
have you heard anything back from Renee on that letter?
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.